You right there. Today, I'm going to teach you how to make a Rainbow Six Siege thumbnail. Like Shawk, Spoit, and the Godly Noob, all their thumbnails are pretty similar, and today, I'm going to teach you how to make them. Something kind of like this right here on screen. This is kind of what we're going for. I'm going to teach you how to make it today. Also, stay until the end of the video, where I'm going to be telling you guys how to get a Photoshop document with the champion logo these YouTubers use 100%. That being said, let's get right into it. Okay, so first thing you want to do when making a Rainbow Six Siege thumbnail is you want to load into Rainbow Six Siege. That is the first and foremost thing to do. Second of all, click on the settings. It doesn't matter what console or platform. Go to Options, go to Display. If you can change this to 16:9. Then go to General, go to Interface Preferences, go over here, and click Cinematic. This turns everything off. Click Apply. Okay, so once you've done your settings, come over here. This says New Playlist Available. Go click on Custom Game, Create Local, Create New, and then title this whatever you want. We're going to title this T Nails for now. Add Match. So this allows you to add the match. Doesn't really matter. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be going over to Coastline. Coastline is a few this way. Just stop when you get to it. You can do any map for this. I'm going to be doing Coastline because that's what everyone does, and in my opinion, looks the best. But you can do any and all of these. I'm going to change game mode to Bomb. Doesn't really matter. I just like doing Bomb. And then you're going to change the settings. Number of rounds, that's fine. This is all fine. You're going to be looking for the prep phase. Pick timer phase is 30. Drop this all the way down to 15. Individual attacker spawn, you're going to want on. All this is all fine here. And then close out of that. Go to game mode settings. Change game mode settings. These are all fine. You want to change the preparation phase duration down to 0. This is going to allow you to instantly spawn in. And this is what you want. Click escape. Click escape again. Don't. Actually, you want to save it and then save it. You want to save it. Save. Open it up. You want to create as a player. You have to do this in local. This will not work in online. You're going to start. So make sure it's in local. Make sure you save the playlist and don't back out like I did accidentally. And then wait for it for the game to load. Game will load in. And now all we have to do is wait. So now you're in the game. You have 15 seconds to pick your spawn. I'm going to be picking this spawn. I'll be picking Ash. Pick an operator that has this cool skin. My skin, I have black ice on Ash, and I also have this purple attachment skin. I'm going to be keeping it on. So click something that's going to stand out or that you can make stand out. Now, you should just be already in the game, like so. And this is where it matters. So now in cinematic mode, as you can see, there's just no HUD, which makes it really easy to get screenshots and thumbnails. So I'm going to be going all the way over here to Ruins. The game looks really nice like this. You're also going to want to crank the details and settings if you can. If you're on PC, that is. So you're going to come into Options, go to Graphics, and make sure all these are as high as possible. This is going to get the nicest looking screenshot. Once here, look for a spot that looks good to you. Look up in the sky, shoot one bullet, reload, and then screenshot while reloading. Now I'm going to do that one more time looking straight up into the sky. So there's nothing but the sky. I'm going to shoot one bullet, press R to reload, and then screenshot with my screenshot key. Once you've done this, you're done with this step. You may close the game and quit to desktop. Confirm quit. So once you've done that, you've taken the screenshot, open up Photoshop, doesn't matter on what monitor. I recommend doing it on a color accurate monitor. When I'm doing my professional work and my client work, I do that on a professional grade color accurate monitor. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'll be doing it with the monitor in front of me. Once you've done that, click File, Create New. This box right here should show up. If it doesn't, type in 1920 by 1080. Click OK. Okay. So now that it's loaded in, you have this blank document. Next thing to do is go to your files. Go over here. Click Pictures. Wherever this is saved to, click it. For me, it's saved in Uplay. Go into Uplay. Click on Rainbow Six Siege. Go all the way down. And drag your screenshot of choice in. For this, I'll be dragging in the one against the sky. It's going to be a lot easier for me to edit, and that's what I'm going to do. So once you've got to this step, and you've dragged your picture into Photoshop, all we have to do is to edit it. You'll probably drag it in as a smart object. That is fine in most cases. It should do that. If it doesn't, you're already one step ahead. So what I like doing, and this is not the proper way to do it, this is one way to do it, and this is how I do it and how I recommend doing it, is right-click on this. It'll bring down this drop menu. You want to rasterize layer. Rasterizing this layer makes it not a smart object, which makes the edits directable. With smart objects, you can edit on the smart object layer and not edit itself. It's non-destructive. But now what we're going to be doing is somewhat destructive in a sense. Go over here, click on the selection tool. If you are using a newer version of Photoshop, right click, go to the object select tool, and then drag it over the gun and the hand. This will do the majority of the work for you. If it doesn't, say like this right here, this is the attachment skin, press shift with the same tool, and then redefine that area. What that'll do is it'll redefine it with not deleting your previous selection. Sometimes, if you do it the other way, it will delete your previous selection. So you have to hold shift to add a new selection. Now, go back up here to the same tool, right click, use quick select tool. What we're going to be doing now is we're going to be holding alt. What we're going to be doing now is holding shift right here. This changes how it's used. It goes from add to subtract and vice versa. What we want right now is subtract. If it is in the add mode, press shift and it'll go into subtract and vice versa. But now, since we've started off in subtract, anything that isn't the gun or the hand or a point of interest for us, we're going to get rid of. And usually in 2 or 3 clicks, just like that, we're done. This, for the most part, is fine and looks good. It took maybe 5 clicks in total to get here. What we're going to do now is select and mask. My masking looks a little bit different because I've custom made mine. If you want, here's how I would do it. Real-time refinement, color red. This masks the background, so you're not really seeing what the background is. You're only editing what you've selected. You can do the inverse of that as well. And my opacity is 7. So I can still kind of see what's going on in the background, but it's not too jarring and it's not detracting away from my focal point, which is the gun and the hand reloading. So I'm seeing the edges here. The edge is a little bit rough, so I can smooth them out. I'm going to feather just a little bit. Actually, not too much. Sometimes feathering is good. In this case, I'm not going to do it. I don't think it needs it. But if it's around very complex objects, well, when you're trying to mask it out in the first place or select it out in the first place, feathering can be good. And then I'm going to max contrast out. This is going to make the edges that are there very hard and well defined. Click OK. Now that you have this selection, this is what you've done in the select and mask. Press Ctrl and J on your keyboard. This duplicates it. So now we just have this layer. And that's what we want. Kind of. We'll get to that in a second. Go back to the layer under it. Remove this right here. So hide this layer by clicking the little eye in the left. Go back to this layer. Go to filter. Go to camera raw. And follow what I'm doing. So this screen right here should pop up. Normally, again, I highly recommend doing this on a color accurate monitor, because you're going to kind of need it. It's a little bit color sensitive, but as long as you can see color and you're not colorblind, you should be fine. Sorry to all the colorblind people out there. This is just not going to be for you. Now, I'm going to hide my camera so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing right here. So bring this up. This window should pop up somewhere on one of your monitors. That's fine. You'll have all of this. The first thing you're going to do is go to color, click browse. This can set you up immediately without having to do any editing by hand. This is how you automatically do it. Go to modern, and then scroll through these to find something you like, which is a good color correction, NCC. Some of these will have some good ones, like modern 10 here has some pretty good ones, and you can adjust the amount to see how aggressive or non-aggressive it is. So you can go to modern 10 and crank it all the way up or all the way down. It depends on what you want to do. This right here will basically get you set with thumbnails, and you'll follow the process that I'm about to show after I show how to do it manually. Okay, so if you're going to be doing the manual color grading in Photoshop, continue watching. But if you're going to be using the presets that I showed via the whatever presets there may be in Photoshop under color profile, please click to the timestamp in the description below or right here on the video screen, like right there. And it's going to be 1438. That'll tell you what to do after you're done with the color grading step. Also, if you want to like fast pace the manual stuff and you want to skip over some stuff, also skip to 1438. It'll tell you what to do after you're done color grading. Thank me later. Also, follow me on twitch.tv/Vexian. I'd appreciate that. You guys are the best. Let's get back into it. I recommend doing it manually because the presets aren't as good. You can find some other presets online for just CC, but they're not as good as manually doing it. So we're not going to do that. We're going to go back. We're going to do profile, and we're going to do color. This sets it to the default that we were on. White balance as shot, and this is where you start messing with things. You don't have to have any idea what you're doing. You just have to make it look good. If it looks good to you, it's going to look good to someone else. So what I like doing with dominant blues is I like boosting the temperature. And what this is going to do, it's going to really accentuate these blues and kind of shift the entire hue to a blue hue. For this, you can do this either way. You can go pink, purple. I want to leave it pretty neutral. I really want to accentuate the blues in this photo and the purples, because that's what the gun is. The black eye skin is predominantly blue and aqua, and the attachment skin is usually a royal blue/purple. Next up is exposure. This is going to change how much light is being let into the I guess, image. Is the best way to describe it. I'm going to kind of lower that because it gives it a nice contrast. Next up, contrast. I like contrast being up so you can see the contours of the gun and the skin. Highlights, these are going to be your highlight colors. Not a big deal. I'm going to bring these up because I do kind of want them up in a sense. Shadows, shadows are good for creating contrast, but we want our shadows up because we want the skin to show. The whites, these are going to be your whites, and then blacks, obviously your black colors. Whites, I'm going to bring up a little bit just so the sun, you can kind of see where the sun's coming from in the image. And then blacks, I'm kind of going to drop potentially, I think, just to make some contrast and to make the gun feel a certain way. I didn't do that with the shadows because I don't think it's necessary, but this is where I would do it with the blacks and kind of take the darker tones down. You could also have it up if you want it more bright, but in this case, I do want to create some contrast. Texture, this is going to be texture on the gun. This stuff right here is what I would classify as texture, and so does the program. So this up, it's going to be more texture. Down, doesn't really matter. It's going to be softer. It's going to be like this brushed out feel, if that makes sense. But I'm gonna have texture up, probably around plus 40, because if it's too much texture, that introduces artifacting, which I'm going to show how to fix in case it does. Clarity, I want this up. This is going to make the image more clear. But again, this will introduce some artifacting. So, you want to be not generous with it, but you don't want to skimp out on it. A good clarity is around 20. This is going to reduce your artifacting, and it's going to make the image a little bit more clear. Dehaze, I'm not really too sure what this does. You can crank this up, see what it does, or crank it down. It's weird. I don't touch it. I usually leave it at 0, or maybe plus or minus 2 at max. Vibrance, this is going to be how vibrant your image is. It's pretty self-explanatory. I want it to be a little bit vibrant, but not too vibrant, because again, the more vibrant it is, the more these artifacts are going to show through. You can kind of see them here on the gun and here around. This is not reflection. This is just artifacting here. Saturation, we want saturation to go up because we want these saturated colors to show through, because they're going to be nicer to look at and more likely for people to click on the thumbnail. So we're going to up those saturation, probably plus 20. So it looks a lot better. And you can see, here's where we started. Here's where we are. This is just some manual tuning. Looking pretty good, if you ask me. Next up is curve. Curve, you can get some stuff done. Best way to put it. I usually like doing a little bit of a curve when it makes sense. Like, I don't think it makes sense for this one. That's usually how you deep fry an image. You just curve it down or curve it up to like a ridiculous amount. But I think a little subtle curve won't hurt us. For detail, sharpening, this creates a lot of artifacts. So you're not going to want to do it. You want to sharpen a little bit, but not too much. I recommend sharpening around 30 looks good here. Again, every screenshot's going to be different, so play it by eye. Noise reduction. Crank this up. Or not. It depends what you want to do. So this is kind of similar to the sharpening, where if it's too soft, you kind of have this like soft brushed out look, or if it's too high, it is what it is. So you want some noise reduction, but noise reduction will also calculate texture as noise, so keep that in mind. So you will lose texture as noise reduction goes up. I'm going to bring mine up to around 10 just so I get some of that noise in the background gone and smooth it out, because it is a pretty harsh gradient. Color noise reduction, this is going to fix these things right here, and you're going to crank that all the way up. This is going to reduce the noise reduction in the color, making the gradients nice and smooth, and if there's any weird colors, it's going to soften them up, as you saw right there. Next up, color mixer. This is where you're going to get your colors to really pop. First and foremost, start with the colors in your image and what you want to accentuate. We want our blues to really be the focus here. We also have this nice red right here, so we're going to up our reds or down our reds, depending on what we want to do. This makes the glove kind of pink, which is kind of cool. So you know what? We're going to keep that because I like it. As you can see here, the red hue scale. We've got orange on this end, red, I guess pink over here, and then oranges, we can make that more red. This is going to be the skin tone, so we're going to want to leave this pretty much neutral at 0. We have no yellows in the image for the most part. We have no greens in the image. Next up is aquas. We can change that to blue, or we can change that more to a greenish. I like changing it to blue because Black Ice does have some aqua undertones in it. We're going to make that more blue. For blue, we're going to shift it a little bit more to the aqua side, but not too much. Probably -5 maximum, but I'm liking how -3 looks. Purples, these are going to be kind of the attachment skin. You can change that to blue, and we can have a whole blue gun, which looks kind of good. But I kind of like the contrast of this as well, and like how it looks, very contrasty. But I'm going to change it to blue, because it kind of fits the whole theme. That's what I'm going to go for. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, I don't really like how the reds look. So I'm just going to change it back to red. So now we have this kind of a blue and red theme going on. Fire and ice, if you will. And I like that. Next, I'm going to go to saturation. Saturation is going to be the saturation of the colors, how saturated they are. So how deep this red is. Okay, it's very red, or it's not very red. For this, I want it to be very red. For the blues, make it very blue, not very blue. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to keep this, usually, depending on how it looks at this stage, I'll crank this or not crank it. I don't think I have to crank it very much, so we're going to go for a +5. The aquas, doesn't matter either way. I'm going to crank these, but that's just because there's a nice blue to aqua gradient here in the background. Next up for luminance, this is how bright the color is. So this red, very bright now, not very bright, not very bright. I'm going to make it very bright. Blues, same thing. You make it very bright or not very bright. Kind of looks insane if you don't do very bright. But hey, it is what it is. But we're going to keep this at probably up a little bit, but not too much. Probably +10. Aquas. I'm going to crank the aquas because I want to. It's going to be nicer overall. And this kind of look really good on YouTube. Now, this is everything. You're seeing the background change and the gun change. So once you've done all that, you don't really need to mess with the color grading or anything below here. You can if you want. I don't recommend doing it. So click OK. Here is what your image will look like. But we only did it to this layer. What about this layer? Click on this layer, re-enable the eye, and you can see what the default gun looks like without any color editing. You can manually color edit this gun again for a second time. Or you could do what I'm about to do, which is go into filter and just reapply the camera filter that you just used. Also use Alt-Control-F or Alt-Command-F, I'm assuming, on a Mac. So now everything looks pretty much the same. Click the bottom layer. This is the layer that we just edited. Go to filter, go to blur, go to lens blur. Lens blur is going to give you this very nice window to pop up, kind of similar to the window we just used. This is very good. So we're going to bring this up. This is going to give that bokeh effect, that portrait mode effect that the iPhone gives. Here are my settings right here. They're nothing crazy, but you can dial these in how you want. Here's how I like mine. I'm going to click OK. And now the background has Gaussian blur, bokeh effect that you see in portrait mode. But wait, what about the champion logo? Well, glad you asked. We're going to go to pictures. I'm going to, in the description below of this video, you have to get here to get to it. There's a Google Drive link in the description below. You must log into the Google Drive. When you log into the Google Drive, there is going to be a PSD document with 3 champion logos that I use. I've used them for Shawk, Pac-Man Down Under, H101 Mayo, Disrupt Gaming, and a slew of other creators when I did thumbnails for them. I'm now releasing these champion logos on the public because I believe it's not very meta anymore, but if you do want to use them, they're free to use. Go for it and have fun. You can also make a decent amount of money doing what I'm telling you. With the thumbnails I'm about to show you how to make and kind of finalize with the champion logo, I was making upwards of $1,200 a month, depending on how good my month was, and depending on how many videos my creators would upload. Again, that's subject to change. I was averaging about 500, but I did have months where I exceeded 1,200. And that was at 18, with no college education, and working maybe an hour a day. But again, way better than working at Subway or another job. Super easy side hustle and good way to make money. I'm now going to drag in this champion logo. This file format is an SVG. Not too sure what that means, but I believe it's a vector format. Don't quote me on that. Actual Photoshop people, I don't know. I just use them. I get them from the internet. They are 4 internet files and internet images. So here is the SVG that I get. Now, first of all, you can see this is a smart object. That's fine. That's good. We actually kind of want that right now. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come here, open up Object Select, and select the star. The star is the same color as this. I don't like how that looks personally, so I'll be doing this. Control-J, duplicate the star. So once you have this dragged in and you've separated the star, click on the champion logo, open blending options. You don't need to know how to do any of these because in the PSD that I provided to you in this video, link in description below, there's going to be a layer style. It's going to be what you're going to be applying to your champion logo. That's all you have to do. So copy that layer style, which I'll show you how to do now once I apply it to this. So go to styles and just put this on. You're not going to have it as is, but I'm going to show you how to copy. So copy layer style, right click, copy layer style, select the new layer, right click again, and paste. So that's what you're going to be doing with the object that is in the PSD document. There should be a square, right click that, copy that layer style, and apply it how I applied it to the champion logo and the star. Now you can change the star how you want. I'm going to be changing the star as I see fit because I don't like the pink outer glow on the star. I'm going to change it to this or maybe something like that. I don't really know yet. I'm going to go through my layer styles here and see what I want. I'm thinking I'll go with that. Nice little gray drop shadow, and it still has that white gray silvery gradient. I'm going to minimize this layer and minimize this layer. I'm now going to group these 2 layers like this, group these 2 layers, or actually, yeah, I'm going to group these 2 layers, the champion layer. This is going to be the star and the champion logo. I'm now going to press Ctrl-T to resize, hold Alt, and drag one of the corners to resize it proportionally. I'm going to tilt it. Doesn't really matter. You can see kind of right here where the tilt is. I'm going to tilt it probably around 15 degrees, maybe a little bit less, maybe something like 9. Alt and drag the corner again to make it fill up. So right here is dead space. This is just where there's no space, no action going on. So it's fundamentally dead space. So you want to fill that dead space. I'm filling that dead space with this. So now the thumbnail is dominated by the gun reloading as well as the champion logo. Next thing we're going to do is press Control to select this layer and then Control again to select this layer. This will select these 2 layers independently from this layer right here. You do not want to select this. The champion logo is fine. Press Control-T. Press Alt and drag a corner, and then we're going to be resizing this. We want this to be a little bit larger. So now they're dominating equal spaces. Now the hand covers this. That's fine. You can move this by just selecting this group here if you want to move that. I don't want to move that. I kind of like where it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, blending options, and put a drop shadow on the hand. Change this drop shadow how you want. I'm not going to teach you how to do that. For my sake, I am going to be doing it though. Probably some, you know what? We'll go with something more bland. We'll just do a white hard drop shadow. You know what? We'll go with a darker drop shadow. So I'm going to, just for this, selecting black, distance down, size up, and now there's going to be a drop shadow over everything. So now it's drop shadowing over that. So it's creating this sense of depth. That being said, there you go. That's how to make a champion thumbnail in not a whole lot of time. Now, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to let you guys use this thumbnail for free. So again, in the link description below, there's going to be some stuff. It's going to be the champion logo, the layer styles, and then this thumbnail for free to use. And that's all. If you made it this far, do me a favor. Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Vexian. I stream every day. It's a good way to support me. If you like this video and this video helped you out at all, you know, come in and say hi. I'd appreciate that. And if not, you know, like, comment, and subscribe, all that good jazz. I appreciate it. It's been Vexian, guys. And peace. Hope this video helps you guys out.
Choose your fighter.